Welcome to the Strength for Life podcast, where smart strength training meets real life. We're Dr. Matt and Nicole Klingler, founders of Village Fitness and Physical Therapy. Here, you'll learn what really works in the gym, at home, and for life. Well, Nolan, welcome to the Strength for Life podcast. Super excited to have you on here today.
Hey, excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, so we met you 15 or so years ago. It was at a Christian retreat, and you were leading the retreat and also doing magic at the retreat. And I thought to myself, this guy is so stinking cool. How do I be more like him? So then fast forward 10 years or so later, I saw on your Instagram that you're a breathwork coach and doing XPT and all the other cool stuff that you've done through your life. So how did you go from retreat leader, magician to breathwork and performance guru?
Yeah, it's quite the gap there. Well, yeah, we met at, I think that was like a UC Davis thing, right? If I recall. And I think you guys were you newly married at that time?
I think we might have still been dating.
Yeah, I think we're still dating.
Dating.
Yeah.
I just remember having some great conversations. I've been a professional magician for 20 years as well. I was a pastor at the time. And I think while everything I do in my life, I now incorporate in my new work seems kind of disjointed. I've been on a mission, just a personal mission in life. Not that I ever was aware of it. But I wanted to how do I live the best possible life? How do I live a life well lived, basically, is the question I've been asking myself. And, I thought that was like sports for so long. I tried this professional hockey thing, magic, entertainment, having fun, traveling. I got involved in the church, and for a while it was not that it's not anymore, but it was like super hyper focused on spiritual growth in that world as well. And so that was that. And then I was married, and all the challenges that come along with that, a wife in a grad school program. I was doing CrossFit, getting healthy again one day when I was in my early 30s. I was probably the healthiest I'd ever been in a long time since playing professional sports, eating right, exercising. At the end of a noon CrossFit class one day, I collapsed at the end of the workout, which if you've ever done a CrossFit workout, that's not uncommon, right? What wasn't normal was when I caught myself, my wrists were kind of bent inward a little bit. And then I said, I need help. And I collapsed, and my heart stopped beating at that time.
Oh my goodness.
So that was not normal.
No.
They had to do CPR on me for a few minutes till the paramedics got there. And then they defibbed me. My heart started right back up, but I didn't regain consciousness. And so they rushed me to the hospital. There's a great hospital, one of the best in California or the countries, in Newport Beach there. And they were really concerned about brain function. So they induced me in a coma for 3 days and put me in a hypothermic state. They basically ran a wetsuit of ice water around my body for the next 3 days. And 3 days later, I woke up with no heart damage, no brain damage. And my wife was in the bed with me, just kind of cuddling. And we just kind of began picking up the pieces of how do I live the happiest, longest, and healthiest that I possibly can. The physical recovery was the fastest part of it. I was in physical therapy in the hospital, and I was lifting the 50-pound dumbbells within a couple of weeks. The nurses were freaking out. I don't think anyone uses those dumbbells there because they're mostly geriatric patients. I was surprised they had them, to be honest. And so I was back to being strong and healthy as far as physically goes, or pretty much immediately. And what I wasn't aware of was the emotional recovery and how long that was going to take. And so I think 3 weeks in, one day, let me tell you what not to do if this ever happens to you, is to have that happen after a CrossFit workout and just casually just tell your wife, hey, I'm going to CrossFit again, and just kind of leave, let the door shut. Not great advice for anyone that goes through this. This is relationship advice. Led to a massive fight. And what that woke me up to was the emotional recovery that was not even on my radar at all. And that honestly took us a couple years to figure out. We almost didn't make it. We had such different emotional experiences of the same thing. It was really hard to find each other. And so
Mm.
that finding the world of breath work in the midst of my physical recovery and wanting to be the happiest, healthiest, and live the longest as possible, breath work was like the door and the bridge to me to everything that I do. It connected me to my body, to emotions that I wasn't even aware were in there. And it really took my therapy and coaching to the next level. And so breath work allowed me to connect to my fear. And, I literally died, and I'm like, this thing's short. We have to make the most of it. Let's chase our dreams. And my wife had a very different experience, not knowing if I would make it or be brain dead. And, she was like, her experience was like, life is fragile. We have to
Yeah.
protect it at all costs. And I'd be like, come on, let's chase our dreams. She's like, no, like we can't reach your dreams if we're dead. And so we were kind of on both ends of this tug of war. But therapy allowed me to connect, or the breath work and therapy allowed me to connect to my fear of death,
Mm.
was actually running the hustle in my life. And acknowledging that actually allowed me to connect to my wife's fear, that was also of death. Ironically, she was just responding to it very differently.
Mm.
And so it saved our marriage. It's improved my health and sleep and all the other things, but that really just opened the door to this life, well lived, that we call it. And so
That's
that's
awesome.
how I got into this world. And now, it's changed my life on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual side, that we want to share it with the rest of the world.
How did you first hear about breath work and get into it? Because I think when you started doing it, it wasn't as probably wasn't even as trendy as it is now.
It was not, and it's still, I'd say, considered pretty woo woo,
Yeah.
but it's more accepted. I heard about it a couple different places in the CrossFit world. I think I ran into some of Laird Hamilton stuff, which was one of my early certifications. This is, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago now. No ice bath devices existed at this time. I was crawling into freezers at Home Depot. It was something like that. And then I think I ran into Wim Hof. Actually, I was at a Tony Robbins thing, and he had Wim Hof come on stage and do some stuff. So that was my first introduction to it all.
Awesome. And what from that made you say like, oh, I want to do more of this for myself? And like, how did you really start to integrate that into your life?
It just started as a hobby. I never planned on it being a job. So when I pick up a hobby, I like to invite as many people that I know and then care about to come and do it. So we we bought a sauna from Costco, one that I think I've talked to you guys about. We bought that exact sauna, and I bought a freezer and did like a conversion on it to make it like an ice bath. And we just started doing a potluck, like a taco Friday thing. After the CrossFit workout, everyone would come over. We do tacos and a sauna and ice bath session and some breath work with it. It was just kind of how it started, just like as a fun hobby. And
And
I
how
didn't
many
even know, I
people?
wasn't even super educated on the stuff that I was doing aside from like reading some articles, maybe some apps and YouTube videos. And literally, we just started seeing people's lives like be impacted and change dramatically. People feeling depressed, not feeling depressed, recovery times, sleep improving, all sorts of things like that. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. I feel like I should be educated on it, just if I'm leading people through it. Because I mean, we had like 20, 30 people coming to this thing, and I'm not doing this professionally. So I was like, this is kind of crazy. So probably should look at my insurance policies and maybe get a little educated on this just to be safe. And yeah, so I actually got certified by Wim Hof. I'm one of his one of his highest level instructors. I'm not affiliated anymore. And then I went through Laird Hamilton stuff in the early days. I don't even think they do that certification anymore. And still, that was just as a hobby. I wasn't planning on it being work. And then COVID hit, and then that's kind of when we decided, hey, I wonder if we could turn this into a business.
Love it.
Yeah. So let's jump in. Let's talk about breath. So why I think if I'm a person who doesn't know about breath work, I'm thinking, well, first, what is breath work and don't I breathe a lot? Why do I need to to work on my breathing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why do I need to work on my breathing? Why, you're doing it all the time. Something I tell people is like, there's no wrong way to breathe. If you're breathing, you're
Except mouth
alive.
breathing. Come on.
Well, it's context, right?
Yeah.
Like mouth breathing when you're at maximum effort makes sense. The problem is most people are doing that when they're just
Sleeping.
sitting at their desk and watching Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's context. You're right. A majority of our time we should be breathing in and out of our nose when we're not at a maximum heart rate, which is probably 98% of the time, right, of our days. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you are breathing, you're alive, you're doing a good job. There's more efficient ways to breathe and ways that we're born breathing. Babies, you watch them, they naturally breathe in and out of their nose and diaphragmatically into their bellies, their whole abdomen area, actually. And a way that NICU nurses know a baby's in distress is when they move to chest breathing.
Mm.
They know that something's wrong medically. And so now that I am doing a lot of work with therapists and coaches, I like to think things through like stress and the nervous system. And so to breathe in and out of your mouth, if your chest rises and shoulders rise when you take a big breath in, that's just a naturally stressful way to breathe. It activates your stress pathways in your nervous system, the sympathetic. And so even if it's just a little bit, that's going to interrupt your sleep, increase your overall stress and anxiety levels, impacts your immune system, impacts your creativity, all sorts of different things if you're just breathing that way all day, every day. And most Americans are. And so we usually do a quick assessment and then just get people breathing in and out of their nose and down into their bellies.
That's awesome. What I guess where should somebody start with breath work? What does that actually look like practically?
I think for me, and something I tell even elite athletes is how you changing and working on how you breathe all day, every day is going to have a greater impact than any other breathing exercise I give you.
Okay.
And that always kind of blows my mind, but it's kind of like diet and nutrition. If you're eating healthy, then maybe, a little scoop of ice cream or whatever at the end of the day, no big deal if you've built that upon some healthy habits. If you're eating Taco Bell all day and expect this tiny salad at the end of the day is going to make up for a full day's worth of poor decisions, then it's kind of delusional. Breathing's the same way. And so if we're breathing in an efficient way, healthy way all day, I'm going to say almost, it doesn't matter how you breathe during exercise because you're building that on a foundation. And so I think the easiest way to start is just putting a hand on your chest, one hand on your belly button, and then just noticing how you breathe, where you breathe. Like if you're listening to this right now, you can actually do it.
I'm doing it.
Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your
Here I
belly
am.
button, and take a big breath in through your nose and just notice what parts of your body move. Let it out. And now let's focus on this next inhale, moving the hand on your belly button first. This is easier if you lie down. Just a little tip. So let's inhale, focus on moving the hand on your belly button first. And exhale. And just practicing that a few times is a great place to start because you want, sort of like your guys' world, right? You want proper movement before you start adding weight to it, right? And so you want to have the functional movement patterns. And so same with breath work. You want to have a healthy breathing pattern before you start going into some of the exercises because now you're building reps. And, if you're doing that incorrectly, you just get accustomed to doing that same pattern over and over again.
So you start with a pattern. It sounds like, I don't know where you're going to go from there, but you really want people to be moving their abdomen first or more as they breathe because of the translation to the diaphragm moving. Am I kind of understanding that correctly?
Yeah. We focus on the efficient pattern first. They don't have to get it perfect, but it just begins building that muscle memory for people. We were all born breathing this way. And so it's not actually learning a new skill. It's actually just reminding our body and those old pathways that we haven't been using to reconnect.
Mm, okay. And is what I said correct though about the diaphragm? Like, do you or the belly? Do you want to move your belly first when you breathe, or more? Is it a
Yeah,
first
you
thing or a
do. You
more thing?
should be able to. The diaphragm is the main breathing muscle. And so we should be using that. Like if your shoulders and chest are rising, those are like secondary or auxiliary breathing muscles. And so that it can develop a lot of neck tension, back tension, shoulder tension, headaches, all just because we're using muscles 20,000 times. We take about 20,000 breaths a day.
Hmm.
And so we're using muscles 20,000 times a day that weren't designed for breathing. A lot of tension can build up. And so if we're using our diaphragm, that means our sides are expanding, parts of our back and our belly are expanding. That would be ideally how we breathe, even when we're breathing at a faster pace during workout. We still want to be breathing diaphragmatically. It just might change a little bit of how that looks.
What would you recommend for, let's say, like in cardio? Like, how would you recommend people if they're just going for, an easy run or, maybe a hike or something where they're not like, max
Nicole's been
effort?
running a lot
I
lately.
have, I have. So I'm
We're
interested in
doing a
this.
high rocks
Oh,
too.
nice. Oh, you guys doing high rocks training? You doing Anaheim?
Yeah,
We
man.
are.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's how you know you're a millennial. Is that you're doing high rocks and probably some red light therapy. That's how you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
That's how you dead giveaway. Dead
Mm.
giveaway. You're a millennial.
Yeah, the heavy weight decreases a little bit,
Yeah.
a lot less overhead barbell movements,
Yeah.
and a lot more recovery tools.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We
so
have
funny.
all the recovery tools except for the sauna, which
Yeah,
uh,
which hopefully will
we'll
happen
talk about
soon.
today.
Yeah. So say I'm going out for a run, 3, 4 miles. Like, what would you recommend? It's not going to be super intense. It's kind of like, zone 2, zone 3. What would you recommend to focus on with breathing for more
Yeah,
like
I
steady
think.
state cardio?
I mean, as far as training zone two, I think staying nasal breathing would be ideal. And you train to stay nasal breathing. It's also like, which should be doable in zone two, if depending on your breathing, s- you know, score and tolerance of carbon dioxide, that might be a little challenging. So you work up to it so you can stay in zone two. And so for runners, like staying nasal breathing also becomes just a natural governor because to go faster and move out of nasal breathing, like to keep a fast pace, usually you have to switch to some sort of mouth breathing. Now you're entering probably zone three, zone four for sure. If you have to start to switch to mouth breathing, maybe even zone five if you're doing an uphill push or something like that. I've seen athletes I work with that are in like zone four, zone five, a pretty long amount of time for like there to keep a pace, a fast pace. And I'm like, bro, you should not be that high for that long. Just flat, like that's really stressful on your body. And so I think when you're not trying to go crazy like you're talking about, I think training to breathe in and out of your nose, you're going to stay aerobic. You're not going to start developing that lactic acid now. It also helps you govern your pace as well. And you're going to be less stressed when you go into your next activity at like a high rocks event, for example.
So
So
stay nasal as long as possible is the too long didn't read version.
Correct. Yeah, I think so. And I think like for high rocks, for example, I mean, some of that stuff, I mean, wall balls and skier, like your heart rate's just going to get jacked. Like
Hmm.
that's pretty normal. And that's contextual, right? Like I said. And so that's fine. But the run's supposed to be the rest. I don't think it's
No,
the rest, but that's what
no.
they say, right?
That's what they
It's
say.
the
I've never
rest.
heard that.
Don't be fooled, everyone. High rocks is a run, not a workout.
so true. So
It's a run broken up with a few workout activities, I feel like.
so true. So say I
Um,
do go out for a run and I am more in like zone 3, zone 4, having to breathe through my mouth. What would you recommend is like the longest to do that? Because you said like not great for your body to be kind of flat at that intensity. Like what would you recommend is like the longest? So say I can't keep my 9 minute per mile pace for longer than like I have to start mouth breathing. Like how long do you push at that level before you're like, I should probably back off?
I mean, I think that is a little bit contextual. Someone like
Okay.
you that's might be trying to train for pace. I mean, that's how we increase our I think doing a few miles at pace in your zones a little bit higher is going to support you staying in a higher pace while nasal breathing.
Hmm.
But for me, it's how do you, you know, I think as an athlete, how do you shift between gears? If you think between gears of a car, right?
Hmm.
Think about there's a breathing pattern for each gear of the heart or zone, heart rate zone, right? So the 5 zones, and think of it gears of a car.
I've never heard this
Like the
before. I'd
first
love to hear
2
this.
are nasal breathing in and out. The 3 and 4 would be in through the nose, out through the mouth, and gear 5 would be maximum effort in and out of the mouth.
Okay.
And so on a run, for example, like uphill, yeah, your heart rate's going to increase, right? So that's where like you can even like shift your gear of breathing to in through the nose, out through the mouth a little bit, or even faster before you even start getting to that push, just to get your body ready to deal with all the oxygen and carbon dioxide that it's going to need. And then I think the biggest thing for athletes, whether it's on a run or even between sets or whatever between activities and high rocks, is and even if you have 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, how do you slow down your breathing as much as possible in the time that you have? Are you going to get to nasal, like box breathing? Probably not if you're on a run or a high rocks event, but you're going to, if you're intentional with it, you're going to be able to slow it down, slow your heart rate down, and you're going to be able to stay at maximum effort a lot longer over the course of time.
Makes sense.
I do this thing when I run or ride my bike where I try to get into a rhythm with my breathing, where I'll breathe in twice through my nose and then twice out through my mouth, and like match it with my cadence, or with my cadence, either running or biking. So like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I didn't even think about it. I just started doing it. A buddy I was riding with was like, dude, you have this weird breathing pattern. You like breathe in through your nose twice. He's a physical therapist too, Eric, who you
Oh,
met.
nice.
He was like, yeah, man, you got this weird breathing pattern. Did you read about that in some research or something? I was like, I don't know. I just do it.
It's actually, it's almost like the physiological sigh breath where it's
Hmm.
kind of a naturally de-stressful breath.
Yeah,
So,
it's very de-stressful. Yeah. How about with strength training? So
Hmm.
my understanding of breath with strength training is that the Valsalva gives you the most stability in terms of intra-abdominal pressure. An exhale would be next most stable. An inhale would be least stable for I intra-abdominal pressure. Um, then with the kind of caveat of somebody with pelvic floor issues, holding their breath while lifting really heavy weight can create problems for the pelvic floor. Um, and so my general recommendation for people is, inhale on the exhale on the concentric or the forceful part of the lift, inhale on the eccentric. As the weight gets heavier and heavier, you're probably going to need to go towards more of a breath hold as you lift. But I don't know, what are
yeah,
your thoughts on
great.
that?
No, that's great. That's right on. I think I always use the analogy of like a soda can
Yeah,
or some sort of can, when it's pressurized. I believe, if I recall, it can hold about 1,500 pounds
a soda
on
can
top of one
or
soda can.
oh wow,
Uh, yeah. So, and then, you open it, I don't know if you still do this, but as kids, used to crush them for the recycler,
always.
like relatively easily. Right. And so I think our thoracic cavity is the same. And so having it pressurized, especially as we get into higher weight, like having that thing full pressurized, like the whole weight belt, I think this is where I see this in the CrossFit world where people are like cranking that weight belt so tight that they can't even expand their bellies for breathing, right? Like that's actually the incorrect way of using a belt. It's supposed to be a cue to be tight when you have that full thoracic breath, diaphragmatic breath in there, and then it's tight when you have that full breath in. Usually Olympic weightlifters are doing that, right? You see that.
Hmm.
I see that more in the CrossFit world where they're cranking it super tight. So yeah, I think that hold right there when it's super heavy, and then yeah, exhale as you're doing the forceful part. You're right on. I think the pelvic floor, that's a great caution, right? Because more pressure if it's a weak pelvic floor. Women postpartum experiencing incontinence, that could be a thing. I think we used to see women in the CrossFit world just I mean, lifting heavy weight and it used to be, I mean, I think this is just where some of the unhealthy things happen, but some of the culture was like, it's like a badge of honor,
To pee your
you
pants.
know, to like have your calluses or like pee while you're doing that. I'm like, I don't think that should be a badge of honor.
Calluses maybe, but not the
Like,
peeing. That can't be good.
yeah, yeah. So like it would be common just for, I think women, not even postpartum, to have pelvic floor blowouts during like some of the super heavy lifts. Pelvic floor gives out. But I'm like, that's probably not where we want to be. And so there's a lot of pelvic floor breathing exercises you can do to strengthen that without any weight to get to that level.
That's awesome. Can we talk about nose breathing and sleep and mouth tape? Um, we've been using mouth tape for like the last
Maybe a year.
year
Yeah.
or so. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and I mean we've changed a bunch of stuff in the last year, so it's tough to say if things are from that. But we've both been sleeping really well. Also, our kids now sleep through the night, so that helps. But yeah, I've
Awesome.
noticed. I know, I've noticed like better sleep, but again, tough to say if it's from the mouth tape. Um,
But I do notice you snore less. So that's
100%.
good.
Yeah,
He doesn't
that's definitely
snore
true.
hardly at all. Um, and then I know for myself, like I used to wake up with like a really dry mouth because I know I mouth breathe all night. And so it has like forced me to breathe through my nose at night, which I feel like has to be good.
Awesome. That's so great. You guys are doing that. Do you wear any wearables to track your
Yeah,
sleep
we
performance?
were Aura.
Hmm.
Nice. What does that tell you over the course of the last year?
I mean, my stuff has improved. So my HRV has steadily improved month over month. My resting heart rate. I've also been exercising progressively more, which is what I was saying. Like we've tweaked a lot of variables. And the biggest driver for me of resting heart rate and HRV seems to be cardiovascular exercise. Like the more I do, my body just eats it up in terms of HRV and um,
Whereas mine, it just kind of like stayed the same.
what metric
Yeah.
should would we be looking at? You think for uh,
To see
to
if
see
we
an
are.
effective mouth breathing? Would it be HRV and heart rate? Or are you looking more at like a sleep metric?
Oh yeah, HRV, heart rate. I know those devices spit out like a sleep kind of like grade or percentage.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Recovery is a little bit different than the actual sleep. Recovery is a little bit more bigger picture. Um, but you know, I think the sleep score gives you an idea of the impact on your sleep. So that's your
yeah.
Gotcha.
My
resting
sleep
heart
score has been about
rate,
the same from last year.
HRV. Um, I mean, I think, you know, sleep is, you know, what Matt Walker says, it's like a legal performance enhancing drug,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's so important. And breath work is one of the key contributors to that. And so I work with this amazing new company. They're nasal dilators, they're 3D printed, called Breathe Wave. They're really cool. They're these little baskets that go up your nose and they're comfortable because they're soft. And we did this at a certification I just did recently, and our clients just their sleep metrics went off the charts, like not just a little bit better, a lot better, and their performance during exercise. So this not only shifts you to nasal breathing, but it dilates your nose. I find um, Caucasians in particular that have like an ovular nostril, when you're moving so much volume of air through your nose, the nostril caves in on itself a little
Mm.
bit, restricting the air a little bit. And so um, this prevents that. And so people, even during sleep, will sleep better and exercise more efficiently because they're able to get more air in and out of their nose. And so it came with those and some mouth tape, and people's sleep metrics went off the charts in the matter of a few days and continue to pour in, which is cool. I'm also cavity prone. My teeth, my enamel, something about my enamel. I always get like little cavities between my teeth that they always need to fix. And since I started mouth taping, I haven't gotten cavities since I started mouth taping.
Hmm. So
So
you'd
dry
recommend mouth
mouth
tape
is
and the nasal dilator.
Yeah, I don't even use the dilator. I got like wide nostril. Asians have the opposite problem. So our nostrils are really wide. So I just do the mouth tape and yeah, my cavities I haven't gotten a cavity in a few years, which is pretty crazy.
That's awesome. So why is it important, like for those that are listening, for them to breathe through their nose while they're sleeping? Like what happens to their body? And then, you know, why mouth tape? Like obviously we kind of know and have done some research, but if someone hasn't heard of that, like why would you tell them to mouth tape?
Yeah, like I said, I think the healthiest way we're born breathing and how we want to be breathing a majority of the day is in and out of the nose. That's the most efficient as far as oxygenating our body. Also say, more importantly, it really has to do with our nervous system and stress. And so our nervous system is like an antenna. And, you know, there's a well-known yogi quote by BKS Iyengar that says, "Nerves are the king of the breath, and the breath is the king of the mind." And so, if our breathing's increased, if it's in and out of the mouth when we're asleep, like I said earlier, it tells you to be a little bit stressed, right? Which is not where we want to be when we're sleeping. And so, if we can shift to breathing in and out of our nose, then we're gonna sleep better.
So
We're gonna
it
feel more
shifts
rested the
us
next
down
day.
into parasympathetic, like rest and digest mode.
Yep, that's right. And so, usually, like mouth breathers, that's where snoring's happening. There's all sorts of links to like heart disease now with snoring and apneas and different things, all from sleep. And so, apnea is where you stop breathing for a little bit while you sleep, but even snoring's like connected to different heart conditions now with sleep. And, cavity prone, like dry mouth is a perfect environment for cavities to develop. And so, breathing in and out of our nose, even during sleep, is beneficial for ourselves, during the day and during our sleep. Mouth tape is just a simple way to, and we're talking about, for those of you that are new to mouth tape, we're not talking about gorilla tape. It's just like a light medical tape to tape over your lips. A lot of the ones I use, I can still breathe out of my mouth.
Yeah.
There are some intense ones that cover the whole mouth. I don't like those just because of the adhesive. And then also if I have to cough, it like feels like my head's going to explode if you have to cough.
Which one do you use?
I've been using, I don't even know what brand it is. It came with those dilators, Breathe Wave. It's really good. It's a nice light adhesive. I also either use just a roll of medical tape for sensitive skin by 3M, just off of Amazon.
Okay.
It's a nice, cheaper way to do it than just buying a mouth tape brand, even though they're cool.
Yeah, we use tape her, tape him.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it looks like kinesio tape, but
It
just like
feels like kinesio tape too. It has I think it probably is, but they cut it into these.
Oh yeah, I've seen those on Amazon.
Yeah.
The other one I like is Patrick McEwen from Oxygen Vance. He makes one, what's it called? Myo tape, and it goes around
That guy's intense.
your lips here. So you could still like talk and like do things with your mouth a little bit if you need to. But you're talking kind of funny, but you can still talk a little bit,
What do you think of mouth tape for kids?
Mouth tape for kids?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
Talk less.
No, so they don't breathe through their mouth.
For car rides and stuff like that. Great.
We use it as a threat.
No, a friend of mine, an old neighbor, he came through our certification. He's been doing mouth tape with his kids, and kids take to it really easily. They don't have as many years of practice of mouth breathing. So it's they adapt to it pretty easily. And I noticed like his feedback is, they seem like they have more energy, and he's seen some noticeable differences by having his kids start to mouth tape. So I think that's pretty cool feedback.
How old are his
But
kids?
that also is like, what was that?
How old are his kids?
Oh gosh, Hazel, I want to say they're like maybe 8 and 10 or 11, something like that.
All right, we're in.
We're in. We've got a 9-year-old who's mouth breathes, so we need him to stop breathing through his mouth at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take to it pretty even younger than that, I've seen. And then another part of that is going to connect to nutrition, which I know you guys are big on. You guys, and so this gets into a little bit of the nuance of the science, but just based on what they're feeding kids at school, processed food actually naturally creates mouth chest breathing. Processed food is acidic, and so your body naturally wants to offload carbon dioxide to balance out the acidity of the food. So it will actually typically shift to naturally, without you thinking about it, mouth and chest breathing, and to balance out your pH level of your body to 7.3. The problem is this also creates a habit of craving acidic and processed foods. And so there's a whole, like, there's a doctor called the breathing diabetic. I love him. I follow him, but I mean, you can change a lot with nutrition, with just your breathing, like, or your body's metabolism with just breathing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is your breath practice every day or weekly? Like, how do you actually implement this practically as a breath guru?
That is a great question. I don't actually typically do, like, when I guide people, I've guided you guys through like a 15, 20-minute journey. I don't got time to do that every day. I don't know that anyone does, busy people. And so for me, what I give my clients in my daily practice is, how do I incorporate it with things I'm already doing? And so for me, a lot of times, now, like, the healthy breathing thing's not as much of a thing, so I don't need to focus on that as much. So for me, a lot of times, just like noticing moments where I'm stressed and taking time to slow down my breathing, whether that's during exercise. My wife and I do a lot of couples work as well. And so, like, so in the therapy coaching world, there's this, like, that yogi quote I quoted earlier, right? Nerves are the king of the breath. Breath is the king of the mind. There's this idea that story follows state. This is that nervous system, right? If we're stressed, your nervous system is like an antenna for story creation. And if it's stressed, it's geared its radar to hone in on stories that are rooted in fear and scarcity. And so when you're a couple or in any relationship, like, and you're in a stressed situation based on getting emotional in that moment or the day's stress, whatever that is, then, you're kind of looking for the worst in that person, and you make up these stories that are rooted in fear and scarcity and that they're out to get me. And so we will literally just have a couple stop, they hug each other, and they do 2 belly breaths together. It's kind of funny. It breaks it up, and then you feel the other person's belly hitting yours, which is just kind of a weird sensation we don't always feel. But immediately after, it de-escalates the situation. They can have a more productive conversation. And people that I've heard, they're like, that's so silly. And they always text me after, like, oh, I actually did it and it actually works. So, such as marriage, I use that one on the regular and any relationship, but even work, when I'm stressed, I take a few deep breaths before I answer someone, an email or something like that. So really incorporating that as much as possible. And then every once in a while, going through the full thing that I guide you guys through is a nice treat. Like, especially when I'm feeling sick or some sickness coming, or I travel a lot, I would work in the Wim Hof method sometime, because, ever since I started practicing that, I haven't gotten sick in years. So
That's cool. How does that work physiologically? So you're hyperventilating and then doing a breath hold at the end. Why does that seem to signal to the human body to up-regulate the immune system, or for the immune system to work better?
yeah, I think I haven't seen any language on this, but reading through all the medical research, to me, it simulates like exercise in some ways. If you think about exercise, right, it is a short-term amount of stress, right, that has a lot of benefit to growth and resilience. And so the breath work and the Wim Hof method, which is 30 to 40 hyperventilation breaths.
Fully in,
We
fully out.
yeah, yeah. It's you've listened to a lot of his recordings.
Very good. Like a wave.
Breath hold. um, and then you hold it on an exhale for 30 seconds to a minute-ish, and then you inhale and hold that for 10 to 15 seconds. That would be one round. You typically do 3 to 4 rounds of that. And I think it simulates a version of exercise. You notice your heart rate increases. And so even though it's a stressful way of breathing that we talked about, in and out, breathing faster, a lot of times at the very least out of the mouth, similar to exercise, even though it's a stress at the end of it, you have this dip effect, right? Where it's actually really relaxing and helps your body become stronger.
Cool.
Love it.
Let's jump to hot and cold. Um, and maybe we'll talk about about sauna first. So Nolan came to Village. He's come twice now, I think at least, and he brought a barrel sauna on the back of a
Yeah.
trailer, and these two Rubbermaid tubs that fit a human, and he pours water in there, dumps a bunch of ice in. How many pounds of ice do you put in those?
Usually like 200 pounds ish, something like that.
Whoa, 200, dang, in each one.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, the summers are hot out there. I think it
Yeah.
depends on the time of year and day we
Okay.
do it.
And so we would
I've
go.
also been shifting to warmer cold plunges for ladies, just based on the new research coming out on that. So,
Okay, I can't wait to dive into all that. But let's talk cold first, because we did cold first in your workshop. What is the research on cold exposure therapy? How often do people need to be doing it, etc.
yeah, it's super good for your immune system. You get this immune system boost, more white blood cells are produced, anti inflammatory markers that last up to 6 days in your bloodstream. So, super good for recovery from strength training, different types of things like that, especially endurance. A lot of research has been done on marathon and triathlete runners. Um, Immune system, you feel good. I'm going through my list in my head. You feel good. You get this massive dopamine boost, like 350% increase in dopamine. And so I always tell people, you're going to all smiles afterwards, but no guarantee what your face is doing during the short time that you're in there. But yeah, I mean, this is where I've seen people experiencing depression, told they'd be on their meds the rest of their life, have been able to step off with working with their doctor. I didn't tell them to do that. Just a disclaimer there. And they're feeling amazing. And so the other big thing that I tell people is that I think it creates mental resilience. And
Mm-hmm.
so people develop a new relationship with stress. And so ice bath, like exercise, is just a controlled, safe dose of stress. And what really is important, and I don't see a lot of the studios or people doing it, is how you go through the ice bath. Sort of like life, it matters, right? And so I teach people to go through this controlled, safe dose of stress that in a way that's not stressful for their body. So their breathing is going to be a non-stressful type of breath, right? Elongated exhales, deep breathing diaphragmatically, and their body's relaxed. Calm mind, calm body, calm breathing. And we do that for, however long they can, up to 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be time. A lot of people are staying in an X amount of time because Huberman or Gary Brecka or whoever, said so. And I'm like, bro, you're shivering. Like if you start to shiver, we've started to move out of that good, healthy stress, right? Shivering's early stages of hypothermia. This happens more with males, just stereotype, but that's just the data I have that are trying to muscle their way through it, which was the way we did it in sports growing up as well. You muscled your way through it, but actually creating a calm response during that process is way more supportive. And so when the metaphorical ice bath of life hits you in the face, your brain actually goes to like, oh, we know how to do this. And so I get clients all the time that text or email or something like, hey, there's this thing that I've been avoiding and I just did it. I don't know if this is normal, had this conversation. It's like new relationship with things that are challenging and stressful in their life.
That's super cool. What do you think about people who watch TV shows while they ice bath, like say The Amazing Race, for example, just to throw an example out there?
I just drooled because I laughed so hard there. That got caught on camera. Is that a habit of yours?
I just like to distract myself. So I will put on a show and yes, I will watch The Amazing Race
So
sometimes while
embarrassing.
I do my
We're gonna need to
content.
do a belly hug after this because I'm just
I mean,
gonna
how
fall
long are
in.
you in there for that you can watch it?
Well, she's just 2 minutes. She
2
just
minutes.
rushed it for 2 minutes.
But it's like it's like my guilty pleasure. I'll watch it while I'm
Yeah,
like doing dishes or folding laundry. And so I'll usually be doing chores and then it's like, oh, it's time to cold plunge and go in the hot tub. So I just take my show out and I put it on and then it goes really fast and I don't notice the cold as much. But maybe that's not the right way to do it. So tell me.
fair.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think it's like a lot of times I play songs for people, so I have music going. So I don't have that. I think mine. As long as you're remaining calm, I think. Oh, I try to get people to not to do is to like sort of dissociate from the moment.
Mm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like I want people to be. I want you to be or to breathe through. I lose you.
Yeah, you lost us for a sec there. We're back though. I think we're back. Yeah. There.
Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think it's a
Back?
connection thing. Yep, we're back. There you are.
Sorry. Well, can you start that over? You were saying,
Where did I lose you?
Um, fully focused, mentally present, something like that about the being in cold exposure.
Yeah, I can start. No, can you hear me now?
Yep.
yeah. Mm,
Jams will need to cut that part.
yeah.
Okay. You can hear me?
It's still kind of breaking up a little bit. I don't know because it's nothing.
It was working so good.
I know. It's him. You think? Because it shows. Do you want me to press anything? Okay. I feel like we're back. Can you hear us? Okay.
I think we're back.
Okay. I think so.
Tough part about living out on a farm.
I know. Probably not that many hard things other than Wi-Fi.
Sure, there's lots of hard things.
I mean, it's pretty good. I've debated about getting Starlink, but anyway,
Yeah. Cool.
This typically works for me. But
Okay, great.
yeah,
Okay,
I think I talked mostly about you watching it, which I don't have a huge problem with. I think what I try and get people to do though is be present in the moment. And so along with being calm in there, which I imagine if I recall you going through it, you're pretty naturally, and women in general are pretty naturally do pretty well in the cold comparatively to men. But it's like, I don't want people to dissociate when they're in the cold. Like I want you to be in the challenge and the struggle of it, be fully present to your body and like be empowered to take control of the situation.
okay.
I think with practice,
I won't watch it anymore.
I think with practice, like I do it so often now, where like I could do something like that. And it's not taking me out of the moment. But I don't, You just have to make that judgment call for yourself.
I knew I
I don't
was
have a
right.
problem with it.
I knew I was right, Nolan. I'm usually wrong, so I'm not gonna lie. It feels good. It feels good to be right for once.
Nice.
Oh my
Kidding.
gosh.
Uh,
Okay, so 2 minutes.
yeah.
You would
What
say
temperature?
it.
You said there's new research showing that we don't need to be in as cold temperature wise.
I think you said for
Yeah,
women.
that's for women in
Well, we
particular.
share it. We
I
share it
think,
though. So
yeah, yeah.
it's like when we order a
Um,
steak at a restaurant, we're gonna split it and split something else. It's like I want medium rare and she wants medium, and so I always ask, like, can you just do somewhere in the middle of medium and medium rare? They usually say no.
you just got to do a thick steak, and she eats the ends and you eat the middle.
How do we do that with the cold plunge? How does
Yeah.
this apply to the cold plunge? Can we make the middle colder?
um, you, yeah, so you're too stressed. So in order to get the ice bath benefits, right, you're harnessing the good amount of stress. And so the two dials on that, let's say, are intensity and duration. So intensity is the temperature, and then duration is how long. So I've typically been doing warmer ice baths, which is just generally more pleasant. um, and then my wife can use it as well. And, I just stay in a little bit longer. And
Nice.
so
How long do you stay in?
honestly, I think a little bit warmer cold kind of sucks more. Like I think cold showers are the worst.
I
Like it's
agree.
just like it's cold and I'm like this sucks, but like I don't know, to me an ice bath or a cold plunge is like it's like almost so cold your brain can't comprehend it for a
Hmm.
second, know. Um but yeah, so those are the two dials I know Huberman talks about with that doctor on his podcast. She talks about accumulating 11 minutes over the course of the week. um, I know like Laird Hamilton, like, I mean, we talk about doing it twice a week, the full sauna ice bath cycle thing twice a week. On recovery days, you don't need to do it more than that because in your bloodstream, all those anti inflammatory markers, they all show up in your bloodstream for 6 days after one ice bath, which is pretty cool. So for women, this is coming from Dr. Stacy Sims. She found, and she's doing her research all on female athletes, which most of the research is not done on females. It's always done on men and then scaled back for women. So love her and her research and the work that she's doing. But she's found somewhere in like the 50, 55-degree range is really good for women.
Great. I'm all about that.
All right, we'll warm it up.
Great. And then let's talk about saunas and
Heck yeah, let's
and
do it.
exposure and like what would you rank is the best for people to do, with, hot tub, sauna, infrared sauna, true sauna, hot showers, like kind of
Hot tub. Did you say hot tub?
yeah, I think I said hot
Hot
tub.
tub.
But like how would you rank those as far as like maximizing health benefits?
Let's see. Sauna. I mean, sauna is the king of recovery. So even more than ice bath, if you had to choose, you're going to sauna. Like especially as an athlete for recovery, sauna. You could do that every
Really? That
day.
works
It's
better than
amazing.
cold for recovery? I didn't know that.
Yep, 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it increases your blood flow. So you're moving the toxins you built up a lot faster just because of the blood flow increase. You start getting above the 200-degree threshold. You're getting EPO, erythropoietin production, more human growth hormone production above 200 degrees as well. And so, as far as recovery goes, it is the gold standard for recovery. And we're talking about dry finish sauna, not infrared. So dry finish sauna would be uh, the top in my book for heat recovery, and that's at minimum probably above 174 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot. Most gym saunas aren't getting that hot. Um, Next would be probably somewhere in the lines of infrared and or hot tub would be your next best, and then the last one would be like cold or hot shower or steam shower or something like that.
So we need to get
Um,
hot. It sounds like is the key
you need to get
strategy.
hot. Yeah, you need to get your blood flow moving. You need to really get your sweat on, and And then you combine that with ice bath, so now you're getting this vasodilation to the vasoconstriction. So along with the increased blood flow, you're getting kind of this pump action to pump out some of those toxins and lactic acid and things you may have built up over the course of working out.
Love it. So how long should someone spend in a sauna each week for like maximizing recovery?
I think on the Huron thing, I think it was 59 minutes or 57 minutes. It was close to an hour accumulated. That was I think the median, of like to get the most benefits. That's where like the time was. I think doing sauna is something you can do every day. I think somewhere in the 15 to 20 minute range is great. I think depending on the heat, it's going to vary, right? We're harnessing that good stress. But I like because of I'm bent towards the heart health because of my incident. Like there's been a 20-year cardiology research done. And I think they found if you're sauning 4 or more times a week above 174 degrees Fahrenheit, that's why I like that minimum temperature, decreases chance of death by heart incident by like 60%.
That's crazy.
Just by that didn't account for nutrition or exercise or anything. Decreased chance of death by heart incident by 60%, all cause mortality by 40%. And that was over the course of a 20-year study.
4 times a week?
4 times a week, 174 degrees, 20 minutes. I do it probably at least 4, maybe 5 times a week. That might change if I'm traveling. But it's kind of like a bedtime protocol for us.
Yeah.
So sauna's great before bed. And, in the hour leading up to bed, like getting hot before bed is actually really good. Your body turns on the cooling mechanisms, and cooling your body down is your body's like trigger to like, oh, it's time to go to sleep. So
great. I love it.
Cool.
Well, I think we need to get a sauna.
Let's do it.
So, if someone doesn't have access to a sauna, then what would you recommend after that? Hot tub? Obviously, you said shower, and then like how long?
Hot tub, yeah, would be the next one. Or a lot of gyms have saunas, so maybe your gym has a sauna, hot tub, and then hot shower is even really effective. So when I'm traveling, sometimes at night at the hotel, if they don't have any one of those, I'll just take a hot shower before bed.
Love it.
Yeah. So obviously we're not going to touch on too much exercise and nutrition. We talked about that stuff a lot on the pod, but we talked about heat, we talked about cold, we talked about breath. What are other things that a person should be considering for optimal aliveness and health?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is rest and play. We talk a lot about that on our retreats. That's where I incorporate magic into like keynotes and things that I do, right? Because when you do magic and you see like a really good magic trick, like there's this moment of awe and wonder. Like to me, I would say you're fully present to the moment, where like time sort of loses time. Time becomes very elastic. Like you're having so much enjoyment in the moment that you kind of forget about everything else for a split second. Maybe that happens for you when you're hiking or biking or running, right? We have these moments and glimpses, to me, of what being fully present is, because we could do it for hours and it feels like minutes. We're like, whoa, I can't believe it's been 3 hours doing that, right? And I think magic opens up a glimpse of that for people. And now UC Berkeley is doing all this interesting study on it in their neuroscience department on wonder and awe. Yeah. And so part of that's having magicians come in, but that could be like in nature, all sorts of things. And it has a physiological impact on your body. Like dopamine, you feel better, you're more likely to connect to other people. It makes you more creative, all sorts of things like that. And so to me, incorporating rest and play is like an integral part of living your best life, And so we really live in a culture that's about rise and grind. And I think we live for weekends or the vacation or retirement. And I think after my life incident and what I see happening with my parents and in-laws is, as people, if they've put this off to their retirement, a lot of people don't have the health and the mobility that they once had or wished they had had to enjoy these types of things. And so for me, it's kind of a both and, right? Like, how do we plan for the future and how do we live our best life today, here and now?
Mm.
Right? I'm not saying like, let's not be irresponsible with our finances and our bodies, but also like, let's be here and now. And how do we enjoy the best life? Like, how do we have time and energy at the end of the day for the things and probably most likely the people that matter most to us? And most of the time we are not doing that. You know, they kind of just get the leftovers at the end of the day. And so that leads me into the next thing, like relationships, like how are your relationships? And so that's where, you know, optimizing your life is optimizing your relationships, your rest and your play. And to me, that's the best part of life.
How do you optimize play and rest in your life? You said you need to leave time and energy for that in the day, but what does that look like practically for you and for the people that you coach?
I think you have to make it a priority, right? I love the Jewish practice of Sabbath, for example, right? And if you haven't ever experienced a Sabbath with a Jewish person, I highly encourage making a Jewish friend and doing it. It's a beautiful process. I've got to experience it in Israel, and like it's like they have to prep the day before, like cook extra, like there's timers on electricity because they can't turn on light switches, no phones, so you make plans with friends before and you just have to show up, you know, and you can't text them that you're not running late or showing up, you know. Like it's really about intention and attention to things you already do. And then they do the Sabbath and it's this beautiful experience where like the food's all made, like you just get to have laugh and enjoy these conversations with people you love, play games, and it's a beautiful day versus where I would say in the Western evangelical world, or at least my practice of Sabbath in that culture has been like, oh, like Sabbath, like I'm going to sleep in, like I'm going to watch a show. And that show turned into like 4 episodes, you know, and then all of a sudden it's the afternoon and I'm like, oh, I don't really feel more rested. And a part of that is because I wasn't intentional with how I planned out how to use that day. And so when I think about, I love that analogy. And so when we talk about rest and play, it's like, how do we be intentional? It doesn't have to be this long thing, right? It's like after this, I'll probably go out into my yard and there's a creek on our property and I'll walk my dogs over there, you know, or, you know, my wife and I will do a lunch break together. Like, how do we be intentional with things we already have to do? We already have to eat. So how do we be intentional with that? And how do we prioritize things we love to do that are fun? And we have to fight for that time, even if it's a short amount of time. But the research is clear on rest and play. And this comes out of the Lego play research they've done a lot of and different things. But you actually are more efficient, more productive, more creative when you actually take a break and incorporate play. It takes less reps to memorize things when you incorporate play into your workspace than if you were just plow through and try and memorize a bunch of stuff. And so for students trying to study, you know, PT students, I know going through those exams is like my wife had to go through. It's like, oh, so much information. And so we started incorporating play and ice bath and all sorts of different things.
Love it.
That's awesome. And you were telling me earlier that are you writing a book that you're going to release soon?
I am in the process of writing a book. It's still a work in process. My goal is to finish the rough draft by the end of the year and launch it and do a whole campaign next year.
Okay. We want to have
Probably
you
in the
back on the pod to
summertime-ish
talk about
sometime.
that.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of
Oh, awesome.
a hint of what it's about?
Yeah, it's all around the idea, and we're doing a retreat on this in March as well, but the idea of optimizing your aliveness. And so I think I came out with this concept on, I think, LinkedIn, and like people loved the idea, and I've never heard anyone talk about it. So we stuck with it. And I think people, like even me, like I was optimizing people's performance and athletes' performance for so long, and biohacking longevity of life. And I keep running into people that are burnt out, that have optimized their performance, that are living longer, but they're just unfulfilled or they're miserable. You know, they have all the things. And a lot of times they've sacrificed their fulfillment and purpose for that performance. I think unpopular opinion, biohacking's kind of become a new version of numbing, I think,
Mm.
especially in places like Southern California, where it just kind of becomes this, while it's a healthy habit, it becomes this new obsessive type habit where like, you know, someone like, I don't know, I don't want to name names, but someone that's really out there in the social media area, that's all they spend their time on and taking hundreds of pills a day. But like, I'm like, bro, what do you do for fun? Like, what, who are you in relationship with that makes this life living longer worthwhile? And so,
Mhm.
um, that's I got lost in the question there. What was the original question?
Oh, just what's the book
Oh,
about? And yeah, can
oh
you
yeah,
And the
optimize. So
retreat.
so yeah. Anyway, that's where it got into optimizing aliveness idea. And so yeah, how are your relationships? Our framework is mind, body, and spirit. And so like mind, mental, emotional, like your body, your physiology, your breathing, and then spirit. I mean that in the most general sense. We talk about it because just our clients are come from all sorts of backgrounds, and so we say that community, connection to yourself, and contribution, because I think we're our best selves when we're contributing to the world and other people. And so that's kind of the framework we move through. And so, yeah, the book's going to be somewhere along that idea of optimizing your aliveness and how do you do that in those spheres of your life.
love it? I'm curious too. How often do you do magic now?
I still do it a little bit, especially around these holidays types of years. Like I get some events, but more so now I've been focused on keynotes, and I actually incorporate a couple magic tricks usually in my keynote I do for people. So I'm not trying to grow that business anymore, but I have a lot of regular business still.
Dude, we took our kids to the Magic Castle last year. We stayed at
Oh,
the Magic Castle Hotel for a
oh,
night,
nice.
which is really fun.
So fun.
And then we went the next day, uh, and they had a blast.
And they've been asking to go back. They
Oh, so cool.
loved
The
it.
candy
Yeah.
bar line,
The
the ice
popsicle.
cream
Yeah.
line by the pool.
Yep, yep,
Yep.
So
Yep.
cool, right?
Yep. Exactly. So fun.
yeah.
Oh
Have
yeah, the
you
popsicle. That's right.
have
Popsicle hotline. You
yeah.
call, and they bring it out on a platter.
So
Yeah, so
awesome.
cool.
Have you performed magic there before?
Yeah.
Oh, you have. I didn't know that.
I've done all sorts of like I've done private events there,
Okay.
and I've done like shows for like my guests there that anyone's welcome to walk into those showrooms. I haven't done a whole week set there
Okay. That's awesome.
because when you get hired there, you do 4 shows a night for a whole week.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot.
Dang.
It is a lot.
That's awesome.
Cool. Well, where can people find you on the socials and the interwebs?
I'm in transition right now.
I
I'm
saw
having a
that.
new website built out, but they can currently find me at it's powercoachingnow.com or at powercoachingnow. That is, but we're in the middle of a rebrand. We're all putting it under the Inner Power Institute. So at some point that'll be changing in the near future here.
Cool.
That's exciting.
I asked ChatGPT about you this morning just to make sure there wasn't anything I don't know, and it actually did a pretty good job of summarizing you and your business. But it had a picture of someone that's not you, just some other Asian guy. Just so you
Nice.
know, ChatGPT knows a lot about you, but it doesn't know what you look like. Um,
Well, to be fair, my friends back in the Facebook days when people use that, my friends that were all white people, they used to tag random Asians in pictures
Oh
as
my
me
God.
in their Facebook pictures. So there's random tags of Asian people that are say Nolan Kim on it.
oh my gosh, that's so good.
That is.
I like your friends. That's funny. Man. Well, thanks, Nolan. This has been awesome. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom and knowledge with our community. I think it's going to be really valuable for people.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, man.